Welcome to the Transformation Leaders Podcast. I'm Tony Lockwood and I'm delighted that you have joined me on today's episode. This podcast combines discussions with transformation leaders who openly talk about their experiences, both positive and developmental, along with recordings of our roundtable discussions that we host as part of the Transformation Leaders Hub, where we share and discuss best practices or indeed world-class basics that you can quickly and easily deploy that will help you to deliver successful change and transformation. So, without further delay, let's get on with the show. This episode is taken from a recent 1% Club Roundtable. So, welcome to this 1% Club Roundtable. Today's session is focused upon the 6 core elements of successful transformation. So without further ado, let me quickly share my screen and the content. So yeah, 6 core elements of successful transformation. And it's interesting just how many people have come onto this session, which is really good. It's obviously something that's struck a chord with many people. What I'm not going to talk about today is how you set up a transformation program. We've all got experience of doing that, I'm sure, but what I want to cover are the core elements that I think are core elements that we need to be considering when we're going through a transformation. We always start these sessions off with why is it important or why it matters, and which, you know, if you do a Google search on transformation, you'll be hit with so many reports, so many articles around, you know, experiences of failed business transformation initiatives, and the impacts of failure in those tend to be delays, cost overruns, reduced benefits, etc., etc. You know, we've all heard the stories of these big government-inspired change programs. But there's a number of things that we should take, and we should always look to identify what's worked well and what can we learn from those successful programs, and equally what can we learn from those programs that have failed in some areas, but what can we learn and put them back into the future programs. And that's what we want to cover today, really. And I'm setting this up as a series of these roundtables. So today we'll discuss the 6 at a high level, introduce the 6 at a high level, but over the next few weeks, in subsequent sessions, we'll do a deep dive into each one, so we can really start to get the nuances around each one of them that we can then build into future programs. So number 1 of these 6 core elements is what I think is number 1 anyway, is making sure that transformation is aligned to the strategy of the organization. We've all been involved, I'm sure, with programs that have been positioned as a transformation, but actually they may be departmental, they might be divisional, and actually they're in conflict to the overall strategy. And people see through that straight away and don't buy into it, and it causes division within organizations and division within teams in many instances. And it's an uphill battle to get things progress. So the more we can align this transformation to the overall strategy and goals of the organization, the better. You know, I talk about this North Star. Any transformation needs to have a real North Star, a real clarity around what we're trying to achieve, and that has to align a strategic alignment for the business. So that's about clearly defining the purpose, the objectives, and the outcomes expected from the transformation, as well as aligning all the initiatives and activities to support that strategy. So, you know, we've worked on, been involved in situations in the past where, you know, you start within an organization, there's a whole series of initiatives. I remember the first real program I got involved in was with the Royal Bank of Scotland back in the 90s. We had McKinsey's in to help us transform the business. And the chief exec at the time came out with this one line that it's always reminded me, it's stayed with me, shall I say. When he came in and looked around at all the things that were happening within the organisation, there was loads going on, And he came up with this one line saying, we've got more pilots in the organisation than the RAF have. So let's get back to simplicity and let's focus on the key things that we want to move forward on. So yeah, strategic alignment is the first of the 6 elements. So number two is change management. Any transformation tends to be focused upon, the three sort of core components of process, people, and technology. And a lot of times, a lot of transformations, especially these from digital transformation, technology is the lead, and process comes second, and people tend to come third. My experience is actually we've got to take people on that journey, and that is all about managing the change within the business, and taking people on that journey is really to do that. You really got to start focusing upon what it means to them, what's the impact to them, and how you can actually position things in the right way at the right time to help them take that journey and progress forward. So that really is about looking at identifying and managing those resistance to change. So be upfront. We know when you open up any change initiative, whether it's a large transformation or just a small program, there will be resistance to change. So let's not hide that fact. Let's grab hold of that and do something about it, and really identify what those resistance to change will be, and start to manage it and proactively manage it, and proactively approach those people that will naturally be reticent, because people don't like change. So let's communicate that vision, that North Star, as I said earlier, and let's start to focus upon the benefits of the transformation, not only to the organisation, but the benefits to the individual. And sometimes that's challenging, because sometimes the benefits to the individual, they're there in terms of some individuals. But let's be open and honest about that, because if you try to hide it, you can create a very poor undercurrent that can have a big impact in the future. And again, not trying to teach you to suck eggs, but it's all too easy just to get sucked into the detail and forget about engaging the relevant stakeholders, both internal and external, throughout the process. Because change management is an ongoing piece, and it's not something you bolt on. I think it's an integral part of transformation. So the third element is that culture change. So it's not in every transformation is culture change a core element of it. But what I find is that those, in many organizations, there is a undercurrent of cultural undercurrent, and it's getting clarity and understanding of that undercurrent and driving the change within that undercurrent that really is really key. And because ultimately you might have the perception might be the culture is one thing, but when in reality is that it's slightly different. And although the perception is that the culture of the organisation would support the change and would support the transformation, the undercurrent may be a significant hindrance to that. So let's get real clarity about that, and let's understand what it takes to drive that cultural change, and be cognizant of that, and start to encourage people to get involved through innovation, collaboration, but that continual improvement. And again, links directly to the change management bit. But again, if we can get that focus upon the future, on the North Star, and that sort of that we're going to deliver and drive this sort of transformation forward together, is a really powerful culture to embed within the organisation. Number 4, process improvement. Again, it's a core element. We spoke about early technology, process, people. Process improvement tends to be a key element within any major transformation. But again, it sometimes gets sort of diluted, and we try to maybe just put technology in, or we put we're trying to just put a new system in without really thinking about the process improvement aspects that's available across the business. And again, getting engaged with the key stakeholders, getting engaged with the people, understanding what they do, and challenging that process of why they do it in a certain way can help identify lots of areas for improvement for them, for the individuals or the teams within the organisation. And it's by building those quick wins into the process and providing some benefits to the individual, you can take people on that journey a lot quicker. So create those new processes that support the transformation, and when necessary, absolutely incorporate technology to automate and optimize those processes. But start with the processes first in many cases, rather than just trying to overlay technology without really understanding what that sort of the process efficiencies are, because that can create, in my experience, can create a lot of problems moving forward, and can create alienation with team members or functions within organizations. Number 5, technology adoption. You know, a lot of change and transformation programs at the moment have got technology or digitalization at the heart of what they're doing. So it is a critical enabler of business transformation, being that sort of move from one state to another, absolutely. But it's critical that we adopt the right technology for the right reasons, and not just go with the latest fad, which can happen. And in my experience, a lot of the failures are where organizations have gone with the latest technology without really thinking about the impact and whether it's the right technology for them, and have tried to just overlay a technology solution to hide the core problems within an organization. So it's critical that you align and integrate the technology to both the organization's processes and culture, and take the people on that journey within the change aspect. And the final core element is one that I think tends to be undervalued. It's that sort of continual monitoring and adjustment. It's that iterative process. Some people call it agile, but yeah, agile is certainly something that an approach that we can take as we go through. But I suppose it's in simple terms, it's looking at, we started off with a North Star, and as we move through the process, we need to continually monitor and adapt and adjust that North Star, because the world's changing as we're moving. If we're doing a big sort of 12, 18 months, 3 years, 5 years change program, the world's not standing still. Things happen in the outside world that will have an impact upon that North Star. So we need to continually monitor it, and not change it for changing's sake, but make sure that it's still valid. Because otherwise we'll end up getting to a place that actually is not a place that allows the organisation to thrive in the future. So involve sort of regular reviews of the progress that we're making, but also keep that view on the end point to make sure it's still valid, and translate that into what it means to individuals with individual divisions, functions, individual teams, to ensure that it's still valid and relevant to them. So that allows us to really continue to be very agile as we progress, identifying areas for improvement and making those adjustments to ensure that the transformation remains relevant and valid, and the end point, the North Star that we're trying to deliver, is still very much where we need to be. So those are the 6 areas. I'm sure we've all got lots to add and comment and challenge. But with that, let me stop sharing and open the floor for discussion. The discussion that follows has been recorded and released inside of the Transformation Leaders Hub. If you wish to join this exclusive community of those working in change and transformation, please go to www.thetransformationleadershub.com and sign up. We have a free member offer available right now. I trust that you have found this episode insightful, and my wish is that you have found at least one nugget that you can take away, consider and deploy into your life, both business and personal. If you've enjoyed the show, please do subscribe and leave us a 5-star rating. It really does help us to share the message to a wider audience. Also, feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or indeed thoughts on a future episode. My contact details are in the show notes. Once again, thank you for joining me today, and I look forward to sharing more episodes with you in the coming weeks. Bye for now.